Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really honored to see your faces or just to feel into your energy and your voices. I have to say, for those who I've known for a while, I've missed you a lot. So I'm very excited for this experience, and hopefully we'll get to actually be together before that. Um, and for those who I'm just meeting, thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored, and I don't take it lightly. So just know that even your curiosity is very honored and is very appreciated. So thank you for your time already, and I hope that through this call, if there are any curiosities or concerns or questions kind of floating through the mind, that we can take an opportunity to tackle them. And if we don't tackle them, just know that we're leaving a little bit of time at the end of this call for some further Q&As and for us to hold space and also listen if there's any particular desires or kind of inquiries inside of you. So just know that there'll be time for you to voice any specifics that are your non-negotiables at the end of this call. I'm going to ask that we all stay muted throughout the call, just so that the information can kind of sort of like flow. And if there's anything that arises that you didn't quite get, feel free to use the chat box and just leave us those questions, because that we can always gather them and tackle them at the end if we didn't answer those particularly as we share some of the information that we have planned for you today. And my invitation is now to kind of get very comfortable. We're going to move through a little bit of practice to kind of land in our bodies and then to move into some prayers. So you're welcome to keep your screen on at any time. If you feel called, you're also welcome to take it off. If you have pets, bring them along. I would love to meet them. It's too hot for my pet to want to come around the computer, but he's around. But as you feel ready, just go ahead and disconnect from the screen and maybe come into your immediate environment and bring your eyes into something or a place in your immediate environment that feels kind of safe or nurturing or pleasant. Maybe something neutral. Maybe you're having a lot of stimulus and you're coming into this call looking for a little bit of pause or silence. So just find what feels most supportive for you at this time. And see if you can begin to focus your gaze there, just for a moment, to acknowledge your experience of your body in this very moment of time. I know that for some of us, we have a practice of meditation, and so coming into closed eyes feels comfortable and accessible. So if that's your case, you're more than welcome to arrive there. Otherwise, a soft gaze or a very focused gaze in your chosen object of focus is perfect. But if you feel ready for this, there's an invitation to welcome a very full breath in through the nose, through the mouth, whatever feels best for you. But allow your body to fill up with breath, and then go ahead and sigh it out through your mouth if that feels supportive. Maybe try to do this a couple more times. Just kind of giving yourself permission to wash away any energy of the morning that just went by. Maybe some of us are in different time zones and it's just morning there, or it's the evening. This is kind of let go of what happened before this moment, even if it was very minor, and offer your physical body in connection with your mind just an opportunity to be here in this moment. Maybe there's some movements or shakes that you want to move and engage in order for your own body to kind of get a little bit more comfortable. Maybe there's a rock to side, or kind of sort of like a little kind of swirling into your own couch or in your chair or any surface that you're choosing right now to place your body in. Just going to see if you can find your way into a cozy state of being there. With that comes that we can explore releasing our weight a little bit more onto that surface that supports you. Maybe it's underneath your body, underneath your feet. Maybe it's behind your back, behind your body. And as your presence kind of arrives a little bit more, just maybe even ask yourself, what does it feel like to kind of lean into the support that is available? what parts of me feel ready to settle here, to potentially rest here. And inside of that exploration, which also inside of any little experiment that we do here, the following calls and inside of this pilgrimage, you are always at choice. So that means that you can participate as light or as deep as you desire. You have autonomy over your body. You are at choice here. But inside of that exploration, let's notice if you begin to perceive any areas of your body that are not ready for settling, that perhaps are not ready for rest yet, and they're engaging a little bit, they're activated, they're in action or in a state of mobilization. It feels helpful to send the breath into these parts of your body that are potentially a little bit more active, that are speaking a little bit louder. Maybe it is through sensations that you notice. And see if you can just breathe with them rather than trying to change them or alter them in any way. I like to think of this practice as my practice of breathing into these places so I can get closer and more intimate with what they need right now. And so if that's the case for you, just kind of leaning into that side of the spectrum. We're not here to ask why or judge as good or bad, as right or wrong yet. Maybe not even at all. We're merely here to listen. So as you continue to take the seat of the witness of your present experience, just notice if you can begin to shift that as soon as you feel ready and complete from the physical body into your mind. Perhaps as the next breath comes, you're kind of pulling your presence from the body and letting it rise up to the upper level, the penthouse of your body, your head space. And as you land here, just kind of notice what is the quality of your own thoughts. What's the quality of your own mindset right now? Is your mind reaching? Does it feel clear, cloudy? Is it moving very fast? Does it feel restless? Is it calm, quiet, focused? And merely noticing as you fold more and more of your awareness is giving yourself permission to arrive into what is at this time. See if you can potentially even witness objects or thoughts and words, sentences that form within the mind's eye. Just going to watch them appear, but also watch them disappear. See if you can remain just slightly separate from it. And as you feel ready, with a non-judgmental awareness, see if you can kind of fold your presence and attention along your breath and exactly as it is right now. Okay? So there's no need to change the breath in any way. Yet I know that for me, as soon as I bring my attention to the breath, oftentimes I take a deeper and fuller breath. So if that happened to you, just allowing it, but noticing what is here in this very moment. How am I breathing? What is the rhythm and the pace of this breath? The density of the breath itself. Is there a sound or a sensation to my breath? Does it feel choppy, restricted? And if it's flowing, where is it flowing? Where is it going? If you like, there's an invitation for you to lengthen your next inhale. Maybe even slow down your next exhale. And as you create a sense of fullness and balance with your breath, maybe that means that you're now matching the length of your inhale to the length of your exhales. As you do so and reach for whatever feels best for you in this time, let's see what happens in your body, specifically in your emotional body. In times as we bring our attention to the breath, our emotions become more amplified. We're able to really hear a little bit more our emotional tone. So see if you like to surf the waves of any emotions that are here, giving yourself permission to welcome them, to lightly or deeply tap into them based on the choice you would like to make today. Perhaps even give yourself the opportunity to release any emotions, movements, or sounds that can help you come connected or create space for the emotional tone that is available today. And knowing that no emotion is good or bad, right or wrong, they are merely energy in motion. My invitation is to perhaps offer your body and your mind, but especially your heart, a reminder that every emotion is meant to teach you something. Every single one is carrying data that we're meant to have in life. Maybe with that reminder, there is more information that arises for you. So perhaps even leaning in, if you desire, to ask, is there anything that you need me to know? And speak directly to your own emotional body. You know that this is potentially a collection of both the mind and the body coming together in the heart. So lean in if that feels safe enough for you. If you like to go there, is there anything that you need me to know at this time? The depth of this question is something we can continue to come back to and explore, carve out a little bit more inside of that. So as you feel ready and complete, there's an invitation to shift gears and bring your attention into your energetic body. And sense into that aspect of you and see what it's collecting or revealing to you around these other 4 points of your own being. How's the energy right now? Is there an exciting energy in the room? Is it a worried, concerned? Is it a fidgety or rigidity energy? Active, calm? Is it expansive? And see if you can receive and experience a couple more deep breaths as a way to kind of wrap around your own mind, wrap it around everything that you've witnessed and you've sensed from this very short practice. Extending a little love note to yourself that it's perfectly okay to notice without judgments. That it's actually a beautiful thing to witness with equanimity and merely notice that when we dip our awareness inside of ourselves, we're merely searching for information for us to work with. So all of it is valid, all of it is real, and all of it is welcomed here. There's space for all versions of you. Is there a particular final statement that you like to connect to for your own self to close your practice? Let's go ahead and find time and space for that. Connect to that mentally, maybe repeat it to yourself a few times. There's a word of reassurance, a word of affirmation, what yogis call the sankalpa or our mantras, right? Let's go ahead and reach for that. And knowing that your mind can be your best friend, but also your worst enemy. These are tools that we can use always. These mental statements, creating confirmation that we are connected, that we are together with our body, our mind, our heart, our spirit, working as a unit. We have a whole team inside of ourselves. So these are your tools, or what I refer to often as our resources. Or whenever there is a moment of overwhelmed or lack of grounding in the body, the mind can be our best friend in those times. We merely practice utilizing it in that way. As you feel ready, you're welcome to connect back to your immediate environment. So that may be just kind of fluttering your eyes open softly and maybe taking a quick look around the room that you're in, orienting yourself back. I often notice that coming out of these meditations, the light feels different in my room. The energy feels different in my room because I am the regulating nervous system here and I've shifted. Right? So if you've noticed that something feels a little different, there's a different tone, a different flavor, kind of noticing that and then eventually connecting back here as you feel ready. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you and for being here one more time. Yeah, passing it on to you, Mos.
So beautiful. Thank you. So before any important threshold, we are invited to honor our teachers and the anchors in our lives, the deep root of connection that we each have to source in our own unique ways. And we'll be doing that a lot on the trip. And for today's session, I wanted to invite us to chant some prayers together. These might be very new for you. These prayers are from the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, which is an arm of Bhakti Yoga that worships and connects to the supreme divine couple in the form of Radha and Krishna. And they are the polarity that dances life into creation and destruction eternally through their loving exchanges. And I am very grateful to this lineage of teachers because I was looking for a complete understanding of God that felt vital for me. And the fact that love is at the center of this tradition, a loving exchange between a masculine and feminine counterpart that is the root of all creation, felt really complete and good for me. So I will paste these mantras in the chat so you can see them with your own eyes as I chant them. And they're mantras of gratitude, right? It's acknowledging these are the people that have come before me. These are the energies that I am in debt to on some level. And I'm grateful. So let's see which ones. There's a lot of them. So in the interest of time, oh, not this last one. That's a little. We'll have a a booklet on our pilgrimage where you can have all of these mantras on hand, and we can also send one out as we go deeper into the experience and start to kind of habituate ourselves to connect to the sound as a means of connecting to our own essence and source. So I'm going to start with the Guru Pranam, the first one, Om Gyana. This is an honoring that my eyes have been covered by darkness, ignorance, disconnection, my vision, my inner vision, my understanding of the world. And I'm grateful to those teachers for removing that cataract of darkness with the torchlight of knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. May our time together be fruitful in reestablishing what is essential to the heart. What is that nectar that we are all hungry for, always searching for in this world? And may we have the blessings of the guides, our ancestors, all our well-wishers incarnate and in spirit who are seeking to help us on our path, that we might find those sources of nectar in the world around us and share them with those who can support that search and share in the treasures of the heart in a safe, beautiful way. And at the beginning of us planning this retreat, I offered a prayer that, oh Krishna, oh Radha, divine manifestation, please bless us on this journey as we begin our process internally, as we begin this walk back home, back towards the truth and the authentic soul, that we may be able to hear your guidance, feel it in our bodies, and be open and have space to receive the truths that are waiting for us. And that they may land in a way that impacts not only our inner worlds and our thoughts and the language we use, but it starts to ripple out into the world and bring us closer together as a community, as a collective, as humanity, fully human and connected deeply to that divinity. Thank you for guiding us. Thank you for providing that creative expression to connect us. If there's any prayer in your heart that you would feel important to connect to, just take a moment and offer that up for yourself. Feeling ready, and slowly bring yourself back into the space, the outer space around you.
Thank you, Moga. If you feel inspired to share how you're feeling via the chat now, or how that practice or prayer felt for you, you're more than welcome to. We're always interested in getting feedback from you. Like, how are you feeling? How is it landing? And know that that's going to be a constant offering and an invitation for all of us. Collective experiences like this are often difficult sometimes, because we are there's a lot of people checking in on us. There's interactions with a lot of people, and oftentimes, and especially after the pandemic, so many of us have developed our own internal systems of coping and dealing and regulating that don't necessarily require a lot of people around us, or a lot of external conversations. Yet we know that in relationships we hurt, but it's also in relationships where we heal, and opportunities for healing are going to be made available if we are allowing ourselves to be cared for by another, and also we really own and land in our kind of sort of like self-responsibility to say, I feel this way, and then I'm able to serve you better because I know exactly where you are, and I'm hearing and sensing in from your feedback. So thanks for sharing if you do. And thanks for energetically sharing if you don't physically write it down, because we can sense into that as well. But as you know, on the email, we shared with you that we wanted to cover a couple topics. What traveling in a group means, what is a pilgrimage, right? And what kind of mood should we be meditating and reflecting on in order for us to bring the proper energetics into this space, and how to prepare our mind and our body and our soul for this trip. We're going to also cover, of course, like a lot of logistical things, like, for example, what are days going to be looking like? What is the daily itinerary? What is the intention behind these kind of sort of like structures? Because oftentimes we go to a new place and we don't want to have a structure. Some people really benefit from the structure, some others don't, right? And so like, what is the intention? What is the why behind that? So that we can then kind of soften around, okay, so like there's a rhythm, but there's always a lot of flexibility around that rhythm, right? And we'll cover a couple of details around flights and internal transportation, your visa if you haven't yet, and any next steps based on the questions that arise around the call. So as a reminder, feel free to leave those questions in the chat if they arise as I'm speaking, so that we don't have to pause the recording and or pause the flow of the things, and make sure that we cover all the information that we are striving to cover with you today. But I wanted to get started first with just speaking a little bit about what is a pilgrimage, right? And like what traveling as a group feels like, looks like, and what does that mean, right? Maybe some of us have been on vacation with other people before, but it's a group of friends. Maybe some of us have been on pilgrimage before, but maybe some of us have never been in an experience like this. And so the first thing that I'll say is that when we come together in a retreat, we're really coming together, right? We've chosen consciously and intentionally to come together with a group of people that we may know and some we might not, right? Some of us might not even know anybody but the facilitators, right? Some people that might be coming to this pilgrimage might not even know the facilitators. I've led experiences where I'm meeting the person for the first time as they land. And so what does a pilgrimage mean first? We are not necessarily moving through a vacation, even though there'll be a lot of free time and space for exploration and curiosity and adventure. We are moving through a spiritual journey, right? We are moving in a collective intention to actually come closer and to nurture the relationship that we have with ourselves. From that place of really befriending ourselves, then we start to befriend other individuals. And then hopefully that internal experience inside of our collective group gives us space to practice on how to befriend our relationship with the divine. And we're going to be experiencing a lot of little practices, little rituals here and there that actually are there to support that sacred homecoming to ourselves, the sacred homecoming to the acknowledgement that there's a soul present in every other body that is traveling along with us, and that we come in contact at all times, everywhere in our lives. But then ultimately, that these experiences are really beautiful for us to practice how to live more harmoniously in our daily lives. I find that when we consciously make a choice to come together to an experience like this, we make some collective agreements, which we'll talk about as we progress in these calls, as we'll be offering some morning sadhanas for us to start to practice and land in the mood of that, right? But we make some collective agreements that are in the spirit of compromise. What do I need to feel safe enough to show myself fully and feel comfortable within this collective space? And as I practice voicing that, first reflecting on it, getting clear with that, and then voicing it to my fellow pilgrims, we get to practice then remembering and showing up for individuals based on their needs. And we get to also practice voicing our needs, getting clearer with our needs, getting really clear with our boundaries. And that can be a very beautiful experience for growth, for expansion, and for healing. And when it comes to this motion of traveling, we're going to be moving from place to place. So it's not that we just land and we claim a place that we call home for the entirety of the trip. No, we'll be moving from place to place. So there'll be a sense of arriving and landing, but there'll also be a sense of moving forward and on to the next thing. And so when we practice coming into these collective agreements and getting really clear with what we need, we also have an opportunity of actually returning to that as we move from place to place. And also even acknowledging if these needs change through the progression of the whole course. And if they do, having the space to practice courage and courageous vulnerability in sharing my reality so that we can develop what I like to call the collective mindset. Okay? The collective mindset means that, yes, I have to take care of myself. I have to make sure that I have all of my things. I have to make sure that I'm kind of, doing the things that I wanted to do inside of this trip. But also, where does that land in relationship to where I am and the people that I'm in with, right? So can I acknowledge that there's space for me to do what I need and receive what I need inside of what we are trying to cultivate and create inside of the group dynamics, right? And so never abandoning yourself and your wants and your needs, but never also taking for granted or ignoring what has been spoken about inside of the collective, right? So always touching base with that and making sure that if there's something that I need, I'm actually bringing it into the collective so it's taken into account and it's taken into consideration, because that's what we're coming together for, right? To actually be together with people in community and in relationship with each other, right? And so with that comes that oftentimes in relationships, we brush up into each other. We feel energies that are not necessarily the energies that we're surrounding ourselves with every day. There might be someone that it's really, really big, like me. So thank you for putting up with me already. We might have someone who's a little bit more on the quieter and calmer side, like Moga. It's a great thing that we have those yin and yang energies going. And so we might notice that we start to get a little bit upset, or we feel a little overwhelmed, or we feel a little bit of conflict internally because we are experiencing something foreign or something new, right? And so the invitation is to acknowledge that one of the greatest qualities that we can develop inside of collective spaces is patience, right? Not everybody has to be and won't ever be just like us, and that we don't necessarily all speak the same language, but we can learn how to communicate even if we don't speak the same language, because there are other ways of expressing and touching based in relationship with another human. And because of that, I want to go back to this idea that we will develop some collective agreements, right? So that we are ensuring that everybody's desires and ways of feeling and being and unfolding and potentially even moving through that process that often can be jarring, that is healing, right? They're seen and held and supported in the ways that they feel like they need, right? But patience is a great virtue. And in a place like Puerto Rico and India, patience is the greatest of virtues. Things move a little bit slower than they do in other places. And for so many of us, we live in very fast-paced places, or we live in the United States and we're used to efficiency. These are places that we have to really put on the hat of patience and be like, let me go with the flow and let me stretch enough to notice what else is out there, and can I live this moment a little bit more rather than wanting to rush this moment or try to make it into what I usually experience in my life, right? The second thing with patience is patience with another being. As we learn to relate to one another, as we learn to be in relationship with one another, as we receive and even learn to put boundaries with one another, right? And then the second thing that I wanted to mention, that it's a great quality to bring along with you, make sure you pack it in your suitcase along with your integrity. That is tolerance. Tolerance of the impermanence and tolerance of the highs and the lows, right? Oftentimes we will create a schedule and all of our energy is going into manifesting this schedule as it's planned. But circumstances in life happen, right? You know, man plans, a human makes a plan and God laughs. And so we have to keep a very flexible kind of mindset that there might be some days where things shift and kind of get tweaked a little bit, right? Retreats are a space where, and experiences that take a life on their own. And oftentimes, if the group dynamic is shifting from here to here, we might need to alter the schedule and the needs of that day to accommodate as many people as possible and to really accommodate the collective energetics of the group. So acknowledge that with that, there's always an invitation for you to voice your needs and state your requests so that we can ensure that we're really catering and curating this experience to what is coming up and moving through you. We are here for you wholeheartedly. And so more importantly than our vision is the collective vision that we are going to create together. So that brings me into one final statement that I want to make sure we really land in, is that we are all of you and us, co-creating this experience together. We have a vision, we have a plan, we have a structure that we will be guiding you, and it's very intentionally curated. Yet you are as important inside of this experience as anything that we've already co-created before, right? So your knowledge, your wisdom, your requests are equally, if not more important than anything that we have planned. So here's an invitation for you to take up space and voice anything that arises for you. Anything else that you feel like it's missing on those two topics, Alex, or anything that you want to add or contribute to that?
Yeah, I think along with tolerance and patience, there's a nice ingredient to add in appreciation. I think that goes such a long way in terms of smoothing greasing the wheels, so to speak, and helping us feel connected, not just tolerant of each other, but actually like we're in it together and really on the same team and on the same adventure. And that's seeing each other through this lens of like with the eyes smeared with love. So that sort of greases our lenses. And yeah, we see that soul within each other is looking for that love to be seen, to be appreciated, to be celebrated. And that actually makes things more fun and creates really powerful bonds of trust and yeah, able to soften into the connection.
Mm-hmm. I added this little thing that I always share in all of my retreats and in my yoga teacher trainings. Part of it is drawn from our collective teacher, Raghunath, and a couple other things I've added just as it feels very appropriate. So feel free to save it. I have it as a screensaver on my phone, so it keeps me accountable.
Love.
Yeah.
I will not criticize, discern, don't condemn. I am tolerant. I take no offense, forgive immediately and wholeheartedly. I am quick to apologize. I see the good in others and I let them know it. I am grateful and I keep a tally of my blessings. I respect the land, culture, and community I am sharing this experience with. For those tuning in to the recording. Yeah, those are such solid pillars. And those are really the prerequisite to enter some of these spiritual lands, these holy places. I've seen it, I've heard about it time and time again. People come to India on a pilgrimage and they are, you know, they're in it first few days, first few cities, and then when it comes time to arrive to Vrindavan, there's something happens.
Mhm.
There's like some crisis at home. They have to leave. They never make it to that part of the trip. And, I'm not going to speculate and project things onto people, but it's always such like a cosmic sort of rebalancing of, well, maybe this person's not really ready for this yet. And so I think these pillars create the guidelines around our inner cleanliness so that we can receive and honor the intense current of spiritual energy that is waiting to transform us even more. Like if we have these pillars in mind and we're practicing them and they're really part of our foundation, then we're primed for a deeper transformation. But without them, it can be really difficult to get further than a certain point in our evolution. And I think we're all here for that deep nectar. So, as Casey Musgraves said, I am drinking from a deeper well. I don't know her.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan, but the music came on the radio the other day, and you're joking about it last night. And yeah, I think it's such like a powerful message, right? Like I was into this stuff and now it's sort of lost its shine. I thought that was gonna save my soul, and now it's sort of like, no. That relationship ended and now I'm all on my own again. And it's like, where's that deeper well of consistent nourishment for the things inside of me that are like really important and essential, my soul. So
Yeah. Thank you
yeah.
so much for that. Yeah. Now, I do want to acknowledge, as a person who is obsessed with Ayurveda and living Ayurveda and yoga together in the world to the best of my capacity, our spiritual potential has a limitless reach when both our mind and our body are two conducive vehicles for that spiritual potential to rise and stretch and grow. And so with this comes the emphasis of really taking care of your physical body and your mind during these months, right? Really getting into a routine that feels sustainable and approachable and accessible for you, right? I love to think about my self-care journey as a 70-30 percentage structure, right? 70% of the things that I really need in order to stay balanced, in order to stay connected, in order to just feel healthy and vibrant. And then 30% of a little bit of juggle room of what I really want and taste and feel and lean into from time to time. Because oftentimes I might not even seek it, but life itself brings me a 30%, a platter of 30% of things that are not going to allow me to keep my rhythm, right? And so if I'm solid in my 70%, I don't get swayed out of balance or I don't experience symptoms of imbalance with that much ease, right? And in the document that we've created for you, there is a little bit of guidance around that, right? But I wanted to talk about how in India, we are going to be experiencing a culture that is really big on raw milk and things like that. If you're not a consumer of dairy, they can potentially begin to affect your digestion. We know that our digestion is really, to me, digestion is the center of our whole being. Like if my digestion is functioning properly, and that along with my nervous system is learning how to come into regulation with ease and quickly, then my whole body and my whole system begins to properly function in order to create an environment that is conducive for me to actually live my spirituality in the world. Otherwise, then certain imbalances and even veils come into my eyes, and I'm unable to actually live the kind of values that we're trying to cultivate here in the world. And so think about introducing to your diet things like probiotics, right? And if you are a dairy consumer, we've listed a couple of resources that I will make sure to list also, as like examples for you to do your own research. If you're still thinking about this experience and you want to look for a little bit of information, I'll add a couple resources for you to look into places in the United States that you can have access to raw milk and raw dairy and raw cheeses and raw yogurts in order to start building your gut flora, right? Probiotics are really, really good. And so if you have any questions on supplements and things like that, we have incredible companies that I personally work closely with. One is Banyan Botanicals. I also work with Divya very closely. And so we can guide you into places and really ethical companies and organizations that can provide certain supplements and structures and diet items that can help you with that, right? And one of the simplest things that you can do, regardless of being in this pilgrimage or not, is waking up and honoring the sacred window, right? The sacred window is those first few hours in the morning upon waking up that our physical body and our mind is extremely malleable, right? And this is when we can kickstart our digestion. This is where we can actually stimulate our body to eliminate properly and to release the toxins from the previous days or even previous seasons. And so consider your morning ritual something that is your priority, right? Maybe you've had a really solid one. I would love to hear some examples. Feel free to share them in the chat if you have some ideas to share with the group. But if you don't, right, something as simple as a warm cup of water in the morning with lemon, or even lemon and turmeric and ginger, could be incredibly supportive for your digestion and for you to start stimulating detoxification. Because what often brings about situations with food poisoning in India is that our body itself already has certain toxins and it's already experiencing certain imbalances. And then we go to a place and we give it something completely new that it's not used to, and it triggers that imbalance way more, right? And so we want to make sure that we're actually cleansing and preparing this physical body. And by that, I mean that digestion has to be on point, right? And so I'm here as a resource, regardless of you coming to this pilgrimage or not, to guide you through this process. But particularly as you prepare to come onto this pilgrimage, we have some specifics that you are going to want to dive into, right? And another thing to kind of keep in mind is that a healthy immune system, which comes very much interconnected with a healthy digestion, it's going to be key for you to have sustainable energy sources for this trip and for your life itself, right? This is merely going to be a microcosm of the whole macrocosm of your life potentially. And so thinking about how to boost your immune system, right? I personally love taking elderberry syrup on a regular base. Banyan Botanicals and other Ayurvedic companies have things like Triphala that can help us detoxify the body, and things like ashwagandha that really replenish adrenal glands. And we know that some of us are experiencing stress and unrelentless stress on a daily basis, and that really compromises our immune system and our digestion. As we know, when our nervous system is retrieved for survival, which is meaning that the body is merely navigating and trying to cope with stress, the digestive system actually, the dial gets turned down quite a lot. And so to boost your digestion, that little warm cup of water in the morning is really, really great for that. But also thinking about cooling drinks after meals in order to balance some acidity as well. And I have some resources that I'll make sure to add on the email if you want to check them out as well. And all of this is actually revealed to you in a very detailed document. As you enrolled for this pilgrimage, you'll get a document with all instructions and all direct links for you to access and explore and do your own research around these topics that I'm talking about. Yeah. Now, when we prepare the physical body, the mind can actually settle within the body. We start to move through a befriending process, which is usually the mood and the intention of, those first few days. That's why we wanted to really land in Goa and stretch the time with us there so we can ground, we can clear and cleanse, and we can recalibrate to then begin to nourish and receive. And so with that, I'll pass it over to Moga to talk a little bit more about our daily schedule.
Awesome. Isn't she the best? Amazing resource. It's like a little in-house natural pharmacist or something. So our daily schedule. Maybe I'll share my screen so we can look at it together. That sounds good. Let's see. Where is it? Pilgrimage to India. Voila. All right. So we have got on the website, let's see, on the website we have um, all of the sort of general structure of what's included in this trip on this journey. We put a very general schedule there as well, which we'll be following for the most part. This is an invitation maybe to step outside of your comfort zone if you tend to sleep in or be a sort of late riser. We're going to need the full day for most days. We're going to be opening ourselves up to get the most of our time there, and an early morning is often the way to go about that, especially when we're talking about the energetics, right? The subtle energies that are present in this experience, accessing temple hours, special darshan times. Darshan is when they open the curtains and you come into the temple to be seen by the divine, right? It's almost this like presenting of ourselves for the day ahead that, hey, just wanted to check in. Thank you. Keep on rocking. If you need me, please let me know how I can live it to my dharma the best, right? It's these like little routines that are developed in the lives of many people where they'll go to the temple every morning before work and offer prayers, meditate there, offer songs and dance. There's a lot of sort of sweet retired um, men and women who go very early in the morning to chant and sing, and this is like their focus of their life now. So early morning time, super critical to receive some of that special sight and experience of these temple activities. And also, especially as we come into the time and place of India from jet lag, from our long travels, just to sort of get our circadian rhythm on. So 6 a.m. sunrise meditation, prayers, journaling, lovely beachfront property we're staying at in Goa. So it shouldn't be so difficult to rise with the sun when the wonderful ocean is outside your door and you can just run out and have a morning dip. I find that ocean water is one of the most grounding and reinvigorating things ever. I could be really off, have a crappy day, emotionally off, physically off. I go dip in the ocean, I'm back 100%. So 6 a.m. wake, maybe even earlier. You know, some mornings we might wake up at 4:30, especially in Vrindavan. There is one temple that we're staying close to that is there's a morning puja, morning ceremony, morning practice of chanting and dancing and singing and waking up the deities, which is very unique. The energy in that room is like nothing you will ever experience. So if you're flying halfway around the world, you know, that's definitely part of the austerity that gives you an experience like nothing else. So sometimes we'll be in the temple at 4:30 in the morning. That was a big shock for me. Well, not huge, but um, it was definitely something that I needed to adjust to when I lived there for 6 months. And I was part of a program, and every morning we had, you know, temple waking the deities at 4:30. So I woke up actually at 3:30 to bathe and dress and get ready. So it's a little bit, and this is where you start to understand the teachings of the Gita, where it says, for the awakened soul, nighttime is day and daytime is night. Your schedule is a little turned around and the priorities are different. And then we will have plenty of time for nourishing the body, for experiencing different varieties of yoga. I absolutely love practicing and teaching Kundalini. That's my primary style. I've done Ashtanga trainings and sort of, you know, Bhakti yoga trainings as well. And Kundalini is a wonderful crossroads between moving powerfully and waking up my whole system and adding in the devotional aspect, sound vibration that's going to open and unlock my heart, the ability to sort of get into those really deep yogic states of meditation quickly, easily, because all these things combined create such a potent energetic field to feel into, like you really feel it. So we'll be doing Kundalini, we'll do some vinyasa, some yin, some walking, swimming, pranayama, of course. That's also a pillar of my daily practice. Every morning for the last 4 years, I've been just every day breath work for 20 minutes. And yeah, it's pretty incredible to just have that support your cellular vitality. After movement, we'll do some food, we'll eat some breakfast, and then for that day, we'll have different activities or outings planned depending where we are. So temple visits, um, going to caves of meditators and sages from eons ago, visiting these places, telling sacred story, meditating together, having the opportunity to sort of plant the seed of intention in these physical places that are themselves energetic portals. They will take those seeds. It's almost like into another dimension, right? Like Star Trek. It's like this little portal and you can place your intention into it. And yeah, I think we are portals. To be clear, this is possible anytime, anywhere. You don't have to travel to India, but it's specifically potent there because these are places that have been touched by millions of souls. And so they're charged with that sort of belief and that seeking, and also the lineage of story that, oh, in this sacred place, this happened many years ago, millions or tens of thousands of years ago by this, um, you know, really incredible personality or person, divine person sometimes. So it's incredible to really like surrender your rational mind and hear some of these stories and be in these places and just like feel the truth of them. Um, yeah. And then we'll be sure to have a lunch stop somewhere. All the food places that we'll organize are, you know, either prashad, which is food that's been offered and cooked with love in a mood of serving the divine before we serve ourselves, or they're just like super clean, prearranged locations. I wouldn't, wholeheartedly encourage eating from street vendors just because we don't know what their practices are. So we'll have meals planned out for us. And then there are certain restaurants, yeah, for sure, in certain places, which if you had the day off, it'd be like, feel free to eat here, and here. And then we'll have an afternoon workshop or some sort of drop-in together. It could also be the outing is in the afternoon and the drop-in, the workshop is in the morning, or that space for relaxation and free time is in the morning. So these two are interchangeable, and we'll make sure to leave it spacious enough so that it's not like crammed in. Some days might be a little crammed in, but not every day. And then dinner, and then an evening gathering so we can just kind of share our realizations, our experiences from the day, what we were left with, what really impacted us, some kirtan, some quiet time, and yeah, just really having that space for connection with each other and really sharing our experience. So the trip was tailored with the intention of, we want to ease into this in a way that's going to make it sustainable. So thankfully, the place we're landing in Goa is very much a nourishing place. We're not in the midst of a lot of noise and energetic confusion that cities can bring. Super clear connection to consistent nourishment through the presence of the ocean and the sun. Um, I would often go here after spending a month in Mumbai or outside of Mumbai at the Eco Village, where I was like working nonstop for 30 days straight. This was my place to go recharge. So we're going to start here, recharge here. And then the Himalayas is also an amazing place to recharge, and that's where we're going to end. So we're bookending our trip with these recharge places, where we can just kind of like ground in, process, and feel like whole and not totally burnt out, because it can be a little bit of a burnout to travel so much and be in these places for 2 weeks. Yeah, and I think each city, in my experience and your experience too, I'm sure, Ida, has a specific quality and gift, just like New York and LA and, Paris or London. And these places that we've chosen in India are all have different facets of the same jewel of devotion. And I think what I love about Jaipur is that it really brings to the forefront the cultural and artistic heritage that India has left and continues to leave in its architecture, in the handicrafts community there. And so it's really an extension of devotion, right? Expressing it through creation and using our hands to make things out of love. So having that experience, contacting those incredible palaces, and yeah, just sort of also it's a sort of sanctuary for the devotees who were sieged by the sort of Mughal rulers coming in from Pakistan into the north. And they moved these deities south into Jaipur as a sanctuary because there were so many sort of gated palaces there. And it was not a very conspicuous place that these treasured deities would be held. And so there is one particular temple in Jaipur that is a special place for worship for Radha Krishna. And it's a really beautiful temple that you feel the devotion there. That's where we'll go in the morning, super early, and just the kind of song and dance that that happens there is like really special. So everything that is in the schedule is really tailored to direct us back into this meditative state of communion, of connection, whether that's to our own needs in our body or to, yeah, the presence of the divine in the ways that she is showing up for you day to day. So you can get reoriented and be shifted by that, or not shifted, because I think it's always there, and we are who we are, but it's like sometimes I'm connected and sometimes I'm not. And so this is like I'm bringing my 5-gallon jug now to fill up and really get the juice, connect, so I can keep sipping from that when in those days that I'm like a little forgetful, a little like spaced out, whatever. So I think that covers it.
Thanks, Moga. I want to be mindful of time, but I did want to just share that one of my favorite things about Vrindavan is I feel like I really learned the definition of devotion and what the definition of true richness is in Vrindavan. To really prioritize what allows me to nurture the relationship with the divine the most, and it's almost like it's lived and breathed every moment there. So I look forward to you being able to step grounds into a place like that. Where I do not lie, I went through a purging experience right before getting there. We were supposed to get there before and we couldn't. And then all of a sudden that day a lot of people in the group actually felt ill and we were ill the whole day. And it almost felt like we were purging in order to be actually able to enter Vrindavan. Because like the way that we felt clear and light right before going was really miraculous. And there was no reason why we were sick. Like there was absolutely no reason or external thing that was making us sick. So I can definitely sense into what you shared. And it's a very, very special place that one must prepare, or life itself, because I do believe and if it's your time and you're not ready, life itself will prepare you for it. And Rishikesh too, it's magical to be able to be in the mountains. The mountains are majestics. And one of my greatest samskara that I have is like waking up before sunrise and going for japa meditation. It's just like chanting with your mala beads, and we're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra in one of the temples, and we could hear the echo of chanting moving through. Like it was almost like it was being carried by the gaps inside of the river Ganges. And I remember like hearing the echo of tons of sadhus just like chanting the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya prayers. Yeah. It's one of my most powerful samskaras and like the imprints in my mind that I hold on to dearly, because it transformed me, and it actually made me feel like, wow, like what if the whole world would wake up every single day to really voice and somatically drop into a mood of please use me as an instrument of love and divine grace in the world, right? Like we would live in a very different place. And so, yeah, I just pray that you're able to sense into that.
I don't want to interrupt, but I'm just put in the chat this link to a podcast episode, which I highly recommend you listen to, everyone, in that vein of sound and how the divine expresses through all of nature, and how that's like such a portal into connection through that sound. It's such a really seminal part of what we're doing on this trip. So definitely check that out. So inspiring, beautiful, beautiful podcast.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. And to wrap things up, of course, as you know, we have round trips to India, which you're welcome to follow the structures of the suggested flights that we have kind of outlined for you. Your departure, ideally, as you know, you're going to want to make it on September 29th. Usually flights to India are in the evening or early hours or like late hours in the afternoon, so that you can land there. You're moving into the future, so you'll lose a day, but then you'll get there and you'll be able to kind of land through those days. We do have an internal flight that it's going to be from Goa to Jaipur. We have some suggested flights in a document that are ready for you, but that's going to be on September 28th. The most kind of sort of like ideal flight that we have, those suggested times are 11:40 a.m. And then there is it's a 1:55 p.m. flight, and we do have a second option that leaves a little bit later. And so it's not too much of a gap that if you are unable to get on that first flight that we're suggesting, there's one that leaves just an hour and a half later, and we'll still be able to kind of travel as a group, right? So our suggestion is that if you are still thinking about this trip, just go ahead and move forward with your reservation so that those flights can be gathered, as it is a really busy time in India during the season that we're going. And so those flights usually kind of sort of like go by pretty fast. Inside of our trip itself, we're going to be moving through buses that we've coordinated and reserved ahead of time. So it's a trusted company that we've worked with before. And they'll be making sure that they take us from point A to point B. This company is also one that it's quite friendly and lively, and they usually share a couple historic facts as we are moving through and traveling through. So if we do pass along kind of sort of like iconic places, they'll be sharing some information around that. And then we will have one train trip. And so once everything is kind of sort of like settled and the group itself is formed, just know that Alex and I will be taking care of that train schedule, and that's included in your price. And so that way we'll ensure that we're all on the same train, all moving in the same car, all moving in the same direction at the same time. And once you make your moves to reserve, if you haven't yet, my invitation is to start looking into your visa. It takes time. We've been through a lot globally and collectively, and so things are a little bit slower than usual these days. And so make sure that you visit the link that I provided on that document if you've already have it and you've enrolled for the training. Otherwise, reach out to us with any questions and we'll send a direct link for you to start looking into that. That is definitely one of the most important things to have, and make sure that once you have it, you make sure to print it right before. And we'll give you instructions. Just know that you'll be guided from beginning to end. And we are sharing a lot of information. So that's why we've created a document with all written things there. So you have a reference point to go back to at all times. And we will, of course, prior to the trip itself, we'll be checking in via email to ensure that everybody's on the same page and have all their things in check, and their schedule is already kind of sort of confirmed. Anything else that you wanted to add, Alex, before we close?
I think if you are getting an e-visa, those tend to be pretty quick. And they also don't provide them a certain amount of time before. I don't know if it's like 3 months or 5 months.
Yeah, it's usually like a 3 to 5 month gap, but the e-visa usually is it's pretty quick, and then they give it to you for like a whole year and a half even.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I I'm getting like a 10-year visa because I just want to have that. And I think I even tried to go apply and it was too soon. Like I needed to be a certain number of months.
Closer to the trip, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if that happens for you too, no stress. I think the e-visas are a little less arduous of a process. We'll have all the flights in a document. We'll send that too, just like the updated flights times, just so y'all have that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think arriving on the 29th in Goa, and we'll arrange for you your airport pickup. So that's going to be taken care of for you. And if you have any questions or recommendations for staying longer, if you're feeling, flew over halfway around the world and you want to stay longer and maybe go see some other places, you're feeling adventurous, yeah, let us know. We can definitely suggest things, connect you to people. The Eco Village outside of Mumbai is an incredible place to go and just ground and receive beautiful treatments in Ayurveda and be in a sanctuary that is like so otherworldly and not like you're in India. It's like traveling 600 years into the past. Just really lush and beautiful place to keep grounding. So just something to think about if you did want to stay longer. We can definitely support in that decision.
All right. For those who are looking into the e-visa, I do have a link with a company that I've done it before in the past, so it's trusted, and that is included in the document that we've created for you, along with other resources. My invitation is to stay with what we've created, as we've used it before. We know it works, and it's a trusted company. As you know, potentially with the global crises everywhere, there's more room for desperation, and we always want to be mindful that what we've created for you are things that we've already experienced in the past, and they are time proven. And so, yeah, just reach out to us with any other further questions. But I do not want to take more of your time. We've already stolen 21 minutes of your time. But if you have any questions or any thoughts or anything that you want to voice, feel free to unmute yourself and or leave it on the chat, and we are here for it. Thank you as well. Yeah. And I love you too.
Love y'all. So excited to be with you all. Thank
Yeah.
you for saying yes.
Absolutely. And for those who are still thinking about it, please let us know how we can support you in bringing more clarity. If something that came up for you or is present for you and that wasn't discussed here, you have both of our emails. You're more than welcome to reach out to us, and we're here to support you and to also ensure that this is an experience that you can do, right? Oftentimes these experiences can feel a little overwhelming. Maybe if you've never been on a retreat before or traveled with a spiritual journey like this before, it can feel a little overwhelming. And oh, really, like 2 weeks is a lot of time. Am I not going to be at home? And so just understand and receive the real intention in our hearts here is to welcome you and to create as safe as of an experience that we can create for you. And that comes with us knowing how we can support that safety for you. So please feel free to reach out at any time. Yeah. But I think that's all for me. Anything else for you, folks?
Yeah, just feeling really grounded, and that will be super taken care of just as a whole, and together we'll be taking care of you. So I feel really grounded in that. I'm grateful for that.
Totally. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll send the recording along in an email, and just reach out to us for the next steps. We can't wait to have you. And if you're thinking about it, I know that you're gonna come. Just come.
Well, have a beautiful day.
Have an amazing afternoon, and I'll see you in New York on Tuesday.